Hey everyone, Sean Clement here at the beautiful Royal Quebec Golf Club in Quebec City. And today there's a huge lesson for us, all of us, to learn by what happened with Brooks Koepka from the Saturday to the Sunday of that Tour Championship. So there's a timing issue, perceived timing issue that was going on. The question I have is, and this is the question I asked my students, I said, okay, you think your arms are out racing your chest and it feels like your chest is stalling out. One, what was your focus just before you swung the club? So I want to take a shot over the red flag here and let it fade back toward the yellow flag in the distance. So I have my intermediate point that's going to take me out there. Well, right now, I'm getting ready to deliver an action that is through this golf ball, over that intermediate point and out over that red flag. If I forget about the red flag, all of a sudden I'm worried about what was going on down here, or I get distracted and I lose my focus on where I want to deliver my action. So Brooks has a very specific action when he's swinging really well. When he was driving the ball extremely well last year, when he beat Tiger, and he just looked untouchable because of the bombs that he was hitting off the tee. He was so accurate. That's what he needed to win on Sunday. I don't think Rory would have gotten him if that would have been the case. So because he lost his focus a little bit, and because he lost his focus, the timing got a little skewed. So now, instead of trying to repair the timing issue, let's go back a little deeper than that. And hey, what was going on in his mind at the time of that swing? And you can always trace it back to that. So there's been a bunch of research that has been done by, dozens of scientific entities on how we learn motor skills. And the studies are like in the hundreds. And every one of those studies came out with the fact that when we think about body parts, we suck. And then when we're thinking about external focus, like if I wanted to throw some darts, in one of those studies, amongst many, they said, okay, half the team focus only on the bullseye. You missed the bullseye, forget about it. Grab another dart, go for the bullseye again. Do that an hour a day for the next 2 weeks. Second half, they said, make sure you perform the same motion with your arm and wrist and fingers. After 2 weeks, team number one, improvement of 15%. The spray patterns, the dispersion was down 15%, and there were 15% more bullseyes involved. Second team, 20% less in performance. So they went the other way. So they really sucked compared to the first team. So there'd be no contest at the end of those 2 weeks as to which team was going to win. Now, if you're standing over here wondering about, okay, I got to make sure my chest goes faster and I time my chest and my arms together, you're in here, you're on internal focus, and that target is begging for you. So let's say I wanted to throw a club. Here's a very easy test that I give my students. We're going to take this club and we're going to throw it toward the red flag and land it just short of the green. So notice the club ends up just short of the green in front of the red flag. How did my brain know when to let go? And not one of my students fails this test. The reason is I have a target. So my brain knows exactly when to let go because there's a target there waiting. If there were no targets, that could have gone up in the air, into the ground, it could have gone more liner, on an arc, whatever. But I had a distance and I had a direction. Therefore, my brain knew when to let go. So if I turn sideways, do the same thing. I'm going to let the club go in that direction. There we go. How did my brain know when to let go? Well, it had to go to the ground. Use the ground to get my body out of the way. There's the chest moving in that direction. And then it had to know when to let go. So when my brain is out there, I get a proper weight shift, I get a proper clearing of the hips, I get proper clearance with my chest, and now my arms can't outrace anymore. But if there's nothing over there to attract my attention, then everything releases down here. So why would my chest go continue that way if that's my target? So arms are now outracing the chest because you're here. Versus, I want to throw over there. Oh, well, that's different. I want to throw over there. I got to go get the ground, use the ground to get my body out of the way so I have access to over there. Well, now everything's moving out of my hands in that direction now. Huge difference. So if I'm hitting a tennis shot, the first thing when the tennis ball is coming to my side, I'm reading the body language, and I need to put the tennis ball in a very specific location. So I've decided on where the tennis ball is going. This is what causes me to meet the tennis ball at that particular time, because without the destination, I don't know when and how to organize myself if I don't have the direction. So if you abandon the direction and you abandon that action in the direction that you want, fade, draw, high, low. So if he says fade over the red flag, over to the yellow flag, this is what makes Bubba a real phenom when he's focused properly, when he's not distracted, and when he's not, preoccupied. So if he's, humming on all cylinders, it's very easy for me to put my money on Bubba, especially at the Masters, because he's just hitting shots to targets. So, last one, if I had a ball on a string, I want the ball on a string to go in that direction, like you got a cowboy with a lasso. The calf comes out of the cage and the cowboy's on his horse and he's flying after the calf. He knows when to let go because he sees where the calf is, and that thing is over his head and he's in a specific cycle, and he goes, no, no, yes. And he knows exactly when to let go of that lasso to rope it around the calf's neck. He's not thinking about his technique. And that's where, if you're going from a Saturday to a Sunday morning and working on your swing and you're working on body parts and you're sapping your focus away from your target, you're going to be in trouble. And that's exactly what happened to Brooks Koepka. And that's what I want you guys to learn. I want you to first and foremost understand that you're not defective. This machine is spectacular. 40 million bits of information per second goes through the machine. But if you're thinking about body parts, you can only go about 40 bits per second. That's massively compromised compared to the other alternative. So what I prefer to do is I'll pick a target. So we have a flight plan, a nice fade from red to yellow. We have an intermediate point that's going to guide us in there. And now my brain is saying, yeah, ball a little forward, that fits. And now I'm thinking about that nice fade feel that's going to fly in that direction. So what's that feel like? Oh, yeah, that nice whipping action through that dandelion stem in that direction. So I'm staying in that direction, and I'm staying in that direction. So I'm delivering in the direction I want that ball to start. So I start with that, and then, okay, so I was a little bit to the right of the red flag. It ended up maybe 20 feet to the right of that yellow flag. Still not a bad shot. What do? Don't think technique, reload. Do you know that this next shot here can never be duplicated? In other words, I got this particular shot to improve upon, and now if I'm focused on delivering in the direction of my intermediate point, my brain's going to have a nice weight shift. It's going to clear the hips. Everything's going to flow out there over that red flag. So I'm going to have a good swing. How good is it going to be? I don't know. Let's find out. Gather that way. Release that way. That went right over the red flag, fading back nicely toward the yellow flag. Now I'm 5 feet to the right of the pin. So in one of those studies, and this is what liberated me and my students 10 years ago, they put a human brain under a PET scan. And I really sincerely hope this reaches a few of you guys on tour. In that study, They were able to make that PET scan semi-portable, and so they only had enough range of motion for a 1-foot putt. So they had a pro and an amateur do a 1-foot putt over and over again. And in that particular study, they never missed. It's a tap-in. So they look at the brain scans afterwards and they realize, wait a second, every brain scan is slightly different one from the next. The same parts of the brain are pretty much lighting up in both cases. And in both cases, every brain scan is slightly different, but yet they never missed the putt. The putt was always in the hole. And to a, 99.9% of us, this would seem very peculiar because we've been brainwashed to think that if you go to the perfect position and repeat the perfect positions, you're going to get perfect golf shots. The problem is the machine, the human machine, is an adaptation machine. It cannot repeat ever from the brain outwards. This is key, because every time I hit this shot, I get a feedback loop. The last 2 shots I hit, I'm going that way. The brain says, I like the feel, I like the flight. It was just a hair to the right of what you wanted. Next shot. Guaranteed I can't hit this next shot exactly the same. I can, even if I put my feet, which is impossible, in the same spike marks, and I re-grip my club in the same dimples, which is impossible, and I take the club away exactly on the same line, which is impossible. You see what I'm saying? So because you can't repeat, you're now free. Why is that? Well, you can't make sure. Your arms are out racing your chest. We got to make sure that doesn't happen. And now we got to work on that perceived defect. It's not defective. It's this focus that was off. So we come back into the right focus. Let's go back to that lovely little fade. Ball position fits. Club face fits. Nice release in that direction. Let's see what happens. I'm gathering. Releasing in that direction. Well, now the ball is started to the left of the red flag and stayed to the left. Can't be repeated. So why would I waste my time thinking about what I need to do to repeat that or to fix that when the next swing isn't, it can't be repeated anyways. So I go back to that same shot. Gather. Bingo. Right over the red flag. Lovely little fade. So now my brain says, hey, that's the benchmark. That's the sound I was looking for. That's the feel I'm looking for. That's the direction I'm looking for. Now, and most of you are going to go, well, how do I repeat that? Just enjoy that one. There's no defects in this thing. If you got 2 arms, 2 legs, and you're insurable, you can do this. What is the task that you're putting in the machine? That's the problem. Or it can be your salvation as well. So I hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you next time.